Greetings, welcome to the SciFi Pubcast, the podcast that tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. And as always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bar. So if you're passionate about something and going to be on a podcast, well, please let us know, because this bar is all about community. We're not doing this for money, we don't have Patreon, we don't sell advertising, because who would want to buy advertising from us? But if you want to help us, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you find the show, joining our Discord server, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. My name is Joel. I'm the owner of this SciFi Pubcast, so to speak. And today we're going to have a great show because I'm looking around and we have some dedicated staff members, because we have Carrie, Derek, and Randall Graham all here. Yes, hey guys, how you doing? Hey, yes. And if you can hear that in my voice, I know from a personal level, I was overserved last night at the patio bar I was at. So I'm drinking Caesars and getting through the show. So there you go. But before I go on, because my quality of my day is excellent right now, well, Carrie, how's the quality of your day?
I'm not sure. I'm still waking up. That's the large mug of coffee. Actually, this is my third.
Excellent. Yeah, I had one coffee and then I switched to vodka. Yeah. It's nice to have a hobby podcast. Let's just say that.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Derek, man, how you doing?
I'm good. Unlike the rest of you, I wake up nice and early. I've already been over to my friend's house for some homemade barbecue chili, and it was delicious. And I was also overserved there.
Really? And you feeling it right now?
Chili, not alcohol.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We all know what he really means, Joel. We know it doesn't have anything to do with alcohol.
Yeah.
Derek,
I was deep in my cups, as they say.
Derek, you suck. At least for the getting up early part.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, of course, Derek is Pennsylvania, Carrie's West Coast, California. I'm in Ottawa, Canada. And we have also Randall Graham. How you doing, Randall?
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I'm having a good day so far. I guess I split the difference and got up at a medium time. I got up at 8 a.m. and watched 6 episodes of Lower Decks.
6?
Is this your first time through, Randall, or is this the second time through?
No, I've been through the whole series twice, and then these were episodes I was watching for my third time.
Oh, God. Dedication. This is like our first Star Trek show with you, Randall, right? If I recall. Not talking about the cruise, but just to talk about an IP in Star Trek. Am I correct?
Pure Star Trek, I think that might be right.
Yes, my God. Amazing. This is, we're progressing.
How have we got this long without getting Randall on for a full episode dedicated to Star Trek?
Well, to be fair, whenever he is on, he always steers the conversation towards Star Trek anyway.
Well, you gotta.
Well, he and I have that in common.
Yeah, I think I blame my alcoholism, but it could be something else. So, okay. But before I forget, because I have a tendency to forget these things, we are, of course, a pub, so to speak, so I need to check with Derek. Derek, man, how's our kitchen doing?
Well, first, I would like to thank you for the additional budget you sent my way. It's really going to show in the food. I know there's been some complaints about the cheapness of it, but I really went all out this time. I made these little badgy sugar cookies. Now, normally, I would have just put normal icing on it, but thanks to the budget increase, I used real gold flakes in the icing. You know, like that, what's that one liquor, Goldschlager, that has real gold in it? So it is all gold, and you're going to taste it, baby.
Oh, God, no, man. Computer, end program.
Please, dear God, end program. Because I do know that there is such a thing as edible gold, and I have a very, very bad feeling that Derek did not use it.
Yeah, it's going to wear customers down, I can say that.
Well, knowing Derek, it's probably actually brass.
At least... Yeah, and lead.
Or something else that will kill you.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know where to go from there. Let's just end the show.
Well, you know, there is that saying, all that is gold does not glitter, and this gold definitely did not glitter.
Oh, God. Give it a couple hours. Okay. Okay.
When we said we wanted you to add some carrots to the food, that is not what we were talking about.
Okay. Oh, God. Okay.
See, this is why we need closed captioning, because, you know, the English language, there's lots of words that sound the same but have different meanings and spellings.
Yeah. Let's not start talking about fartleberries, okay? Which is a 19th century term for something. Look it up, kids. Okay. This episode is one of the Sci-Fi Pubcasts for the history books, our history books, because it's the first time we're talking about a cartoon series. And it's Star Trek. And we couldn't do it in good consciousness, with good conscience, I should say, without the delectable insights of Randal Graham. So we're talking Star Trek, Lower Decks, Engaged. Yes, I just said that because I can. And it's my podcast. Guys, Lower Decks. So what is this show all about?
Oh, it's about, it's not the A team of Starfleet. It's like the B squad, the squad that the fleet that goes back and checks up on things, after first contact is made.
Yeah. So it would be a squad like perhaps Derek would be part of if he was in the Federation.
Not everybody graduates at the top of their class at Starfleet Academy. Okay.
Yes.
You gotta send the bottom rungs somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
apparently they're all California class ships too. So, hey, representation, man.
Yeah, there we go. So it's an animated series. It's created by Mike McMahon. Am I saying the fellows? Yeah, right. Okay. It's been around for one season, 10 episodes. They're in production for season 2, so we're gonna get another season full of fun jokes and parody, which is amazing. Mm-hmm.
Yay!
And yes, it is something else. It's the second animated Star Trek series in the franchise history. The first, of course, being Star Trek, the animated series back from, was it the early 70s?
70s.
Yeah, 1970s, right? So, So from 73 to 74. And, well, I was born in January, so there we go, of 74. So I caught it as a baby, perhaps. Perhaps not.
I actually just watched the animated series for the first time in my life this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it's really cool that they got all of the original voice actors to come back, except for Walter Koenig. Chekhov.
Yeah,
Chekhov was the only one that didn't come back.
He did write one of the episodes.
Right. Yeah. So I thought it was really cool that they got everyone to come back, and obviously the animation is very, basic, but that's normal for the 70s. And it was cool that they were able to do things that they never had the budget to do in the original show. We actually got to see big, expansive settings and action scenes and aliens and that sort of thing. So it was very interesting to watch.
And we got to hear at least 20 characters by James Doohan.
That is true. Sometimes all in one episode.
That's right.
I think there's like 1 or 2 episodes where he's like doing 7 voices.
I watched the original animated series. I know we're here to talk about Lower Decks, but good preamble here about the original animated series. I watched it as a kid. I was born in 71, so I was very little when it came out. But I got into it on reruns when I was slightly older, like maybe 7 or 8 years old. And I remember, this sounds like heresy, but I remember being a kid sitting on the couch and being disappointed when the Star Trek show would start if it turned out not to be the cartoon.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and now I tried to rewatch the animated series about a year and a half ago on Netflix, and almost unwatchable. I found it. I liked several episodes. There were memorable ones from when I was a kid, like Spock and his big pet, and there were a few episodes, and then the introduction of the holodeck, first episode we ever saw that, and that was in the animated series. But for the most part, I found myself looking at childhood me and saying, "What were your tastes, young man?"
Well, I mean,
that's actually how I feel about the original series. I mean, like I know at the time it was brilliant and groundbreaking, but watching it, like from a modern day perspective, it's kind of hard to be excited about it.
Oh, there are some brutal episodes, but I guess of course there are brutal episodes of even my favorite series.
There are brutal episodes of all of the series.
That's right. But one of
except
the best
for Lower
episodes,
Decks, that was
except
all
maybe
good.
Disco.
Well, one of the best episodes of The Next Generation for me was episode 15 of season 7, which was called Lower Decks.
Yes.
And the episode that, when I heard they were doing another series called Lower Decks, my hopes were really, really, really high because I loved that episode. I loved the idea of the up-and-comers who haven't quite made it to bridge crew status, who haven't made it to senior staff, the folks who are always bucking for promotion or trying to maneuver each other into, enhancing their own position on the crew, rather. I loved that episode. I thought it was great. I loved the scene where Sam Lavelle tries to cozy up to Riker by, talking about the fact that he has Canadian relatives, and Riker turns out not to be Canadian, and
no, he's Alaskan.
that's right. And then Lavelle says, "Oh well, it snows a lot in both places," and then Riker just said, "I guess so," and Lavelle walks away feeling like an idiot. I liked the gentle humor in that episode. Interesting parallel between that Lower Decks and this Lower Decks. The Bajoran dies at the end. Spoiler alert. Let's all throw it out for Shax.
Yes, of course. We're talking spoilers throughout Star Trek. So if you haven't seen the Lower Decks, by all means, hit the pause button, go watch it, and come back. So.
But I liked that episode. I had very high hopes for Lower Decks, the animated series. It's nothing like what I expected. I thought it would be more like that Lower Decks episode, but I have to say I do enjoy it. I don't love it. I like it quite a bit. I think it deserves better ratings than it's getting. I think it deserves better reviews than it's getting, generally speaking. But I rather like it. I don't get excited about a new episode breaking like I do when a new episode of Discovery comes out. How about that premiere that we just had? That was brilliant.
It was great.
That episode had me in tears by the end.
Oh, when they gave the guy the commission at the end, I was actually
no. The last 10 minutes, I was just like, oh.
Yeah, I had the feels too, and
yeah.
Lower Decks doesn't hit me that way. Obviously, it's not supposed to.
No,
it doesn't. I don't look at it as must-watch TV, but I'm just happy that I'm in the Star Trek universe, right?
Oh yeah. It's kind of like if I saw a quote from the showrunner Mike McCann, and he said this basically. We have the Orville out there, we have Galaxy's Quest, and these shows are doing the same thing, basically what he's trying to do, but they're not in Star Trek. Whereas Star Trek Lower Deck is obviously in Star Trek, and that's meaningful, right? It's actually in universe, which is great.
So the conceit about the original series is that Gene Roddenberry, and this is kind of out there already, did not believe Star Trek should be a comedy, and the funniest episodes of Star Trek, like say Trouble with Tribbles, Piece of the Action, stuff like that, were kind of made while Gene was on vacation. And he hated those episodes apparently. So this is finally Star Trek getting to have fun with Star Trek and getting to be funny.
Yeah.
And getting to make jokes about the stuff that we all know is kind of ridiculous sometimes about Star Trek, but it's not untrue.
Yes, you mean there's ridiculous. I can't even say the word right now. In science fiction, I'm doing right now.
Yeah, to me, it's sort of in universe, but in very much a cartoon version of the universe, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to accept that cartoon rules regarding things like mortality apply much more so than even regular sci-fi rules, making things like mortality not that important, right? Right in one of the very first scenes of the series, we have a drunken mariner swinging a batleth around and stabbing Boimler in the leg and slicing a big chunk off, and they're both, he's bleeding and they're both screaming. And in a cartoon, that's safe. Like, you can have that, and it's not at all tragic that someone just got a big chunk of their leg slashed with a batleth. No one's worried because we all fundamentally know it's a cartoon version of the universe.
But it's also 24th century medicine, so they can patch that up.
Yeah,
they clearly didn't do that sort of thing in the Next Generation, is what I'm getting at. Like, it's quite different and over the top, and the characters, all of the characters have this sort of antisocial aspect to them that is acceptable in a cartoon world that wouldn't be. Like, even the noblest seeming ones like Tendi and Rutherford are stealing equipment from other ships in ways that wouldn't necessarily fit with the Star Trek universe, but a cartoon Star Trek universe, it works. So yeah, one of the worst things that has ever happened in Star Trek fandom, I think, is people deciding that they can make declarations about what is and what isn't Star Trek. A lot of the naysayers are out there saying this isn't Star Trek. Well, of course it's Star Trek, but it's cartoon Star Trek, and that's allowed to be different.
Right, but they also get to do things like they've made aspects of the animated series relevant again. I mean, so we've already hit the spoiler alert button. So, and this is something I didn't notice when I watched it, but apparently when they go back to the planet from Return of the Archons, there's that picture of Spock and Kirk
from the animated series,
and it's from the animated series. It's a picture from Return of the Archons, but it's an animated version of that animated series version of that picture, and it's just like, oh, great. And we get more of Eric's species. That's the three-armed guy from the episode with the from, I think, is it Veritas?
Yeah, the episode with the farm.
Yeah, with the farm.
Much Ado About Boimler.
Much Ado About Boimler.
Yeah.
Yes. Veritas was the no, I don't even know.
Was that the one about the show trial?
Yes.
With the eels.
That was a show trial about the eels. That was kind of sort of taken directly from Star Trek 6, but not really.
Yeah.
You get to have the Catians again, which is Maresa's species from the animated series. You get to
wait, is that the cat species with the doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the cat doctor lady on Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Anna.
Yeah.
Voiced by Gillian Wegman. Yes. Great.
That's right.
But yeah,
I just saw the scene where she was inadvertently smacked by Beckett Mariner into her plate of nachos. And I love the fact that she's a competent medical officer, but sort of has the personality of a bad cat. She actually hisses at people sometimes when she gets into a fight. It's great. They really leaned into the cat aspects of the species,
definitely.
which I thought was really fun.
Wow. Amazing. Derek, you're quiet, man. What do you think?
I absolutely love Lower Decks. It puts such a smile on my face from beginning to end. I mean, you know me, I'm a goofy guy, I like to laugh, so this was just absolutely perfect for me. I loved every single episode. I didn't think any of them were, bad or disappointing. I mean, so obviously some were better than others, but all of the hilarious little in-jokes just had me laughing to no end, like the show trial from Undiscovered Country, or when they went onto the holodeck program and they were watching the movie credits roll, and it was like the theme music from one of the movies, I forget which one.
The first one, the original, yeah.
Yeah, and it ended with the signatures from Undiscovered Country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
That was their movie episode, and you would think that would come, like in season 3 or 4, but according to Mike McMahon, he did this supplemental episode of Mission Log, where he did he talks about basically wanting to do as much, basically wanting to do the stuff that the Star Trek stuff that he's always wanted to do. So the movie episode, it was just like a big send off to all of the movies. And he actually had to negotiate for an extra minute of animation for that, because they needed another minute apparently to do the fly around the Cerritos. I thought of you, Randall, when they were doing the TPM TMP fly around.
Honestly, I laughed so hard through that whole scene because I love Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I think it's a massively underrated movie. I will admit I didn't love it the first time I watched it, but now I love it. I have it. It gives me warm fuzzies, and when that's happened and it just went on and on and on, I was on the treadmill watching it, and I had to steady myself because I was laughing so hard because they just were leaning into the extra 45 minutes of flying around the ship or whatever it was in the motion picture. At least it felt like that.
Yeah.
One thing I like, as you guys know, in my other professional life, I rather like the notion of ambiguity, not really knowing what something means, something having multiple meanings, multiple interpretations. What I love about Lower Decks is it sort of leans into the question of whether or not it's canon, because it treats the animated series as canon. And we all know in theory that the animated series is not supposed to be canon, but it treats like the Edosians
would have disagreed with you. I think.
Pardon me?
I think DC Fontana would have disagreed with you, but she's not around anymore to say yes or no. But she apparently the people writing the animated series treated it as if it was year 3, year 4, and 5 of.
Absolutely, they did. I doubt
TOS.
the people creating their own thing would think this is going to be thrown away. But I think largely, some subsequent audiences and reviewers have said, okay, we're going to take that not as real stuff. But,
I mean, there have been references like hidden here and there in the later series, like DS9 and TNG. So
Absolutely.
it's kind of nebulous. You could go either way with it. Like, there have been references, but that doesn't mean that those events happened. It's kind of like the Star Wars extended universe. They reference it, but that doesn't mean it's canon.
Absolutely. And I just love that they're just going with it. They're just like, well, you know what? The animated universe in Star Trek is real, so we're part of that, and everything happened. And I really quite enjoy that.
Yeah, it's
but they also make things canon. They also make things canon, like the Spock helmet from I guess it's the 70s, and that showed up in the finale. Apparently, it's one of Mariner's contraband items.
That's great. Ultimately, I think of Lower Decks very much in the vein of Star Wars Detours, which is the cartoon show that was never released by Lucasfilm in 2012 because of the Disney acquisition. So I saw some of Star Wars Detours at a Star Wars Celebration, and it's just this irreverent, parody cartoon, and I can see why in this case Disney didn't want it to release because they had a future of Star Wars. But with the Lower Decks, no, they don't. They're just going for it, right? And we're seeing it, and I think it's great to watch Star Trek not in a really serious way, but in a jokey cartoon way. I think that's healthy.
But I mean, the Lower Deck still has something to say about whatever you decide to do, it's okay to do that. If the captain's name, Freeman's comments about they're lucky I'm so damn reasonable or something like that. It's like, come on. They Lower Decks understands what Starfleet's about, and then like I said, it makes fun of exactly what Starfleet is about.
Oh yeah, the whole I call it Star Trek careerism, right? It's all about the careers, right? And you see that in different other UL life institutions. The Canadian Armed Forces had a major problem with this as an organizational problem back in the mid-1990s, following what's called the Somali Inquiry. And I lived in the reserves, and you saw it all over the place. And we still get that in government organizations. If you put the career first, not so much the mission or the objective of your job.
But then Lower Decks also has things to say about and this is kind of sort of something that has more to do with how TV was made up until like the middle of TNG, where it's like, okay, yeah, you fixed this problem, but does anyone go back and check? No, apparently not. We just throw some caution tape around the planet and sail away, and no one goes back to check and see, hey, did Landru actually get disassembled or something? Oh, they're listening to that computer again. Shit, we should probably stop them from doing that again. Why wasn't anyone watching this?
If only Kirk had gone back to check on City Alpha 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
My favorite moment so far will not be hard for any of you to predict because you know where my affections for characters lie. And it was such crazy happenstance. I tweeted out just randomly one day because I'd watched a Deep Space Nine episode where, of course, something horrible was happening to Miles O'Brien. And I tweeted out I would pay real money to see a new Star Trek series that was just nice things happening to Miles O'Brien. And like 48 hours later, I see the episode of Lower Decks where it ends with, now let's talk about the most important person in the history of Starfleet, Chief Miles O'Brien. I mean, yes, that is the best. I was so happy because I just love him. And there's this entire trope in the Star Trek universe that O'Brien must suffer. And it's just so nice to see nice things happening, or him being regarded as a key player in the Star Trek universe. I just love that character. I love his arc, and so much crap happens to him that I just want to give him a hug.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of characters, I really love the Lower Decks characters. Like, I think Mariner in particular is just so much fun, and the voice actress just gives such a great performance. Boimler's really funny. Everyone is, but yeah, Mariner is by far my favorite character because I love how she's kind of, a little off the books. She's got her contraband going on, but she's still, a good Starfleet officer. But yeah, she's just got such a great sense of humor and attitude. She's a great addition to the canon.
Yeah,
I love Tawny Newsome, the voice actress who portrays that character. Mariner's probably one of my least favorite characters in the series, mostly because the feeling that if it weren't for nepotism, which is not a thing in the Star Trek universe, one would like to think, but if not for nepotism, she would be in jail.
Yes.
She belongs in several brigs, but her mom's a captain, her dad's an admiral, and so she's demoted all the time. But when you look at things that people got chucked into the brig for in the Next Generation, like nothing compares to the stuff that Beckett gets away with. I don't mind the character. I like all the characters in the show. My favorites though are. Probably, I like Rutherford a great deal. I think he's a really neat guy. I love Tendi. I think she's just a breath of fresh air, having this cute little wide-eyed person who just wants to be part of Starfleet. I think she's the person who stands in.
Against type.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she stands in for the audience. Like, what would we be like if we got to be in a starship? Like, oh my God, everything's amazing. And of course, Jack Ransom is hilarious as like the Captain Kirk / Will Riker type who's just gallivanting around the galaxy.
Double fist punch.
Yeah, I love that. I like Boimler fine. I like Beckett Mariner fine. For me, the supporting cast. I loved Shax.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
And I loved working in Bajoran religion to this big warrior dude. Like the scene when he has Rutherford fight off all the Borg, when Rutherford is thinking about trying to be a security officer, and Rutherford just activates his combat implant and kills all the holographic Borg. And Shax is like, by the prophets, you're a great warrior. And I love the juxtaposition of this deeply spiritual people with this combat maniac.
That's awesome. Although, Randall, I do have to take a bit of an issue with the Mariner would be in the brig several times over, but you know what? So would Spock on a number of occasions. Data should be disassembled. Given how
many things did Ro Lauren do and get away with?
Exactly. Given how many times Data had hijacked the Enterprise, and the fact that they didn't disassemble him like right away. I mean, come on.
Well, I think any competent lawyer could have gotten Data off on those charges, given the lack of mens rea. I do think,
that's pretty funny.
I think that the vaguely antisocial behavior of Mariner, like starting a fight with a woman because she can't believe that Boimler could have a girlfriend. So I'm going to start, throwing things at her and attacking her because she must be a parasite because
Boimler's that was hilarious.
Incapable of being attractive, right? Like
but it was a parasite.
It was a parasite, but it was Boimler.
Yeah.
I loved. Oh God, I laughed out loud when he kept talking about taking a lover, and she's my lover. I'm going to make love to my lover. I think this is so gross.
Yeah, it was
speaking
gross.
For the audience, please stop saying lover. That was hilarious. I love that episode. But again, cartoon rules apply, right? So stuff that would get you thrown in the brig, stuff that would get you turfed out of Starfleet, here is just sort of a comedic slapstick moment. So it's a bit unfair of me to say Beckett belongs in the brig, but just more so than the other characters, she seems incredibly competent, but not to give an F about anything. And I don't love that character as much as I like the sort of wide-eyed innocence of Tendi and Rutherford. I love those two characters together. I'm really interested to see what happens with Rutherford now that he's lost his implants.
Is his personality going to completely change?
Yeah, that was a neat turn to take. I loved when his implant went into British mode for a second. Why is there a British mode? It's the absurdity and ridiculousness of the cartoon universe that I find quite funny. Like, I don't think we're going to find that in Discovery they're going to make reference to the fact that there are now cybernetic implants with British mode, right? Because that's pure canon. Like, clearly there's a cartoon universe and an other universe.
Well, we don't know Randall, because I mean, I know we're not really talking Picard on this show, but I have a feeling that sometime before Picard started, implants were disallowed because of the whole synthetics ban.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So who knows what that? We're probably gonna have to wait for season 2 of Picard to find out how that all shakes out.
Wow, absolutely.
I'm now really looking forward to a future Picard episode.
Me too.
and the discussion of whether Picard is Picard still.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Talking about episodes, I must say my favorite episode was the one with all the freaks and Division 14 on board the what was it, the
Much Ado About Boimler?
Yeah, that's the episode on board the USS Osler and all that, because to me it's touched some I'll say like a milestone, so to speak, where it actually resonated with me a lot, because there's actually a real life military example of this stuff, of the farm. And I'm talking about the French Foreign Legion, right? So in the French Foreign Legion, the only requirement to join the French Foreign Legion is that you can't be French. You can't be a French citizen, or a citizen of France. And they've been around for 120 years, so to, around there. And they do have a retirement program where if you get injured, or you become a French citizen on discharge, and they take care of you on a winery, right? A vineyard, a farm.
Oh, nice.
Right? I'm not sure if they're still doing this or not, but they were doing this about 20 years ago, and I suppose they're probably still doing this. And so the whole Division 14, let's send all the freaks to the farm so that they can live out their days being taken care of by nice, pretty nurses and drinking wine. Yeah, that's cool, right? And then, of course, the quotes, like the farm cures all, and then the freaks fight back. I thought it was really neat. And plus, it was like a Halloween feel type episode, because it was dark and spooky, and yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I like the episode. I love the notion that the Edosian, the three-armed dude, that he just happened to have a laugh that sounded evil, and that's why everyone always mistook his plans for evil machinations, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. I have an evil laugh, and no one suspects me of doing anything mean and horrible.
And the lighting on the ship looked like a horror movie just because they didn't repair the lighting.
I just Googled the farm and rehabilitation, and I see that there's actually a rehab center in my province in Ontario called the Farm. It's an addiction treatment center. I was just wondering if there were other pop culture references to that, because it seems sort of familiar when Joel was talking about it. But yeah, I quite like that episode. I don't know what my favorite episode would be. I liked the finale, even though the finale to me felt like quite a different flavor than the other episodes. I mean, we had some serious consequences, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
But I quite liked it. I also liked Much Ado About Boimler. There were no episodes that I hated. I thought they were all good. The worst episode of this season, whatever that episode is, I'm not going to characterize that, but is better than the worst episode of the first season of The Next Generation. right? Right, like some of those episodes were barely watchable, and it remains one of my favorite series of all time. But yeah, everything here was at least for me a B quality. Um, and some of them veered up into the A zone. I quite like them. There were none that I absolutely loved and was like completely over the moon for, but yeah, I thought this was a solid effort. What about you guys?
Oh, I agree. All the episodes were amazing. Like I really appreciate the fact that you didn't necessarily have to be read in on Star Trek to enjoy the series, but if you have seen like every episode of Star Trek ever, there like all of the Easter eggs are there. It's like, oh, yeah, with the trip sprinkles. Okay, great. Yeah, I get that one, and just like the 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 referential humor of just being able to play it with the entire Star Trek universe that way is just like it's so much fun.
Yeah, I watch it on Skype with my friend who is not a Star Trek fan, and I'll like suddenly start cackling madly at something, and she'll have no idea what I'm laughing at, and I'll have to explain it to her.
Oh wow!
Is it canon or is it not canon that the universe is on the back of a koala?
Yeah, it's really hard to pick which one is my favorite. I think they're all pretty consistently at the same level. I guess I would say the last one just because it had some legitimately good action scenes, and you had Riker and Troy and the Titan showing up at the end, which was so cool.
I loved that.
That was so much fun, yes.
Because I've actually read some of the novels starring the Titan, so it was kind of like a massive Treklit, animated appearance. So that was really neat.
You raised an
this is the
interesting
first time
point,
you've
Derek.
seen the Titan in anything anywhere.
Yeah, you raise a really interesting point for me, Derek, and that I hadn't thought about this, about how hard it would be to do action that you buy into in a cartoon, right? And not just make it like Bugs Bunny Roadrunner type stuff where people get hit in the head with an anvil and nobody cares, or like in the first episode where Beckett slices Boimler with a batleth and nobody cares because it's a cartoon. But I hadn't really reflected on it until you said that, but I felt like there were stakes at issue.
An entire starship got killed.
Yeah, in episode 10, I really felt like there was some adrenaline there that I don't associate with non-serious cartoons. That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and the Bajoran guy sacrificed himself.
Yes,
absolutely. That scene was great. And in the meantime, while we're having actual meaningful action and people dying and entire starships getting wiped out, we have Peanut Hamper.
Well, and then we bring back the pack lads in a way that makes them kind of relevant for today. Like like I said, there in the supplemental from Mission Log with Mike McMahon, he's basically said that he kind of intended the Packlets to be kind of Trumpish. It's like, yeah, this is what happens when someone stumbles into like everything, and that really any kind of technology that they really have no business being able to use at all.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yes.
So here comes my controversial opinion about the series.
Oh dear.
Because I've been reading reviews online, and I enjoy the actor who portrays him, but I do not like Badgie. Everybody seems to love Badgie. People are like, Badgie's the best thing about the series. I wasn't a fan of Badgie.
I'm not necessarily. I'm not a fan, but Badgie is creepy. Like Badgie, but although apparently people have been kicking around ideas for like Badgie getting together with Moriarty, or Badgie having a run-in with Barclay.
I would love that.
That'd be great.
I like that Badgie just because the whole Microsoft paperclip thing from the 90s, right? Okay,
Yeah.
And I think it was good for one episode as a joke, but the fact that they brought it back for the last episode, was he in the last one? I thought.
Yeah. That was
He was in the finale. He
Yeah.
kind of saved the day. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Badgie for me throws off my view of some of the other characters, right? Like when Rutherford's creating him in the first episode where Badgie appears, Badgie's taking a little bit too long to load the spacewalk debris recovery program, and Rutherford yells at him, calls him a stupid glitch, and kicks him in, where his groin would be. Rutherford's like the sweetest, nicest guy, and the casual cruelty toward even a holographic character, and that's sort of the basis of why Badgie has this dark underbelly personality. Again, it's cartoon rules apply, so kicking people and screaming at them is different in a cartoon world than it is in a regular science fiction Starfleet world. The casual cruelty with which Badgie is treated just seemed out of character for me. And I think that just took me out of the show for a second.
Yeah, you do kind of have a point there. That is fair. Like that part did kind of throw me off. It's like, wow, Rutherford's this really sweet guy until his computer program doesn't work, and then then he's a complete asshole.
Mm-hmm. In his defense, it wasn't supposed to be a sentient program. It was just supposed to be a basic interface. So it wasn't supposed to have, like feelings or life.
But I mean, it's like I treat my Echo better than Rutherford treats.
Oh yeah,
Badgie.
I once said a bad word, and Siri thought I was swearing at her, and I actually apologized.
Exactly.
like you want to be. Yeah, there's a feeling of politeness to artificial life forms. I don't know why, but I thank Siri. After she completes a task for me, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think a lot of people would react to even like where they know there's no sentient mind there. That the going through the motions of being polite, being kind, it's just part of the human experience. And Rutherford's just like, no, F you, Badgie. and Badgie becomes a psycho killer.
Well, and I mean that shows consequences of treating quote unquote non-sentient life as inferior in any way. I mean how many sci-fi people think that not treating your smart devices well could send them on the road to hell.
Absolutely.
I don't want suddenly my apartment to blow up because I kicked the crap out of my Echoes.
Absolutely. And I love that this is a silly series that is willing to get complicated like that sometimes, right? Like dealing with racial stereotyping with the Orions, and in a really complicated way, because like it's racial stereotyping and we're all against that, but the racial stereotyping of the Orions is almost always right? Like they mostly are.
Yeah, I loved it when Tendi said, Orions haven't been doing piracy for 5 years now.
Yeah, I just love that. I think that's fantastic. And it's an interesting, nuanced approach that I wonder if, being in like Star Trek has never shied away from important political issues, important things to discuss, but I wonder if there's an added freedom when you're, it's just a silly cartoon.
Well, I mean that's kind of how the original animated series was treated, because if you listen to Larry Nemechek's Trek Files, he's had a couple of documents revolving around the animated series, and one particular that I remember from DC Fontana was like saying, no, just because this is a cartoon, we are not treating this as a kid's show. We are making an adult show that just happens to be animated. So that's why you have stuff like Yesteryear, where you're basically dealing with the death of a pet, or sacrificing a pet to save the greater good. You're dealing with the idea that the devil may not be the bad guy in things, and these are cartoons that we're showing on Saturday morning to kids, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. This is kind of subversive stuff, but it's animated, so you can get away with it.
It's almost
that's very cool.
Yeah, it's almost like the makers of the show is like the Q and can do whatever they want, and they're just playing with us. Speaking of which, I can't believe they brought Q back. That was just an excellent thing. I love Q.
Oh, yeah,
I'm pro Q.
Actually, they dropped the hint on that on Star Trek Day, when they did the Star Trek Day panel.
Oh wow.
They should do a whole episode with Q, not just a cameo, because he's perfect for this show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, talk about a platform where you can actually do anything, right? Like with animation, they could really go gonzo with Q's powers.
Well, I mean, there's this theory that Lore's been helping the Packlands, and it's like, okay, any excuse to get Brett Spiner back to do any of the Sung Boys is fine with me. Let's have Lore show up because we don't know what actually happened to him. Is he disassembled somewhere? Did Data jazz him out into space to be repaired? We don't know.
Well, they've announced that they will be bringing back some characters for season 2, right? So some cameos. We just have no clue who's going to show up.
Well,
I
also,
would love to see more cameos. Let's see some DS9 people.
Would love that. Let's bring back O'Brien.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think one suggestion was have Shax show up, sitting talking to Cisco in the wormhole or something like that.
Oh, that'd be lovely. That's very cute.
And shouting at him.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to see William Shatner show up, right? As Kirk, maybe Ghost Kirk.
Ooh.
He could still be in the oh God, what's the thing in Generations that he goes into?
In the Nexus.
The Nexus.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. And we got to see some new ships as well, right? I guess the USS Merseed, or Marquis, I'm not sure it's a soft sea or Merced. Yeah. The USS Vancouver, which just sounds so wrong, but there it is. Because of course Vancouver is in Canada, right? Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Isn't every ship in this series named after a city in California? Like we have a Vancouver, Canada, but we also have a Vancouver, California.
All of the California class ships are named after places in California.
And my understanding is that the joke about the Cerritos is it's this sort of vanilla, just average humdrum suburb of Los Angeles, isn't it? Like it's where nothing exciting happens, and that's why it's called the Cerritos.
You know what? I've never actually been to Cerritos, so I really couldn't say. But
see, I think that's the perfect answer.
But seriously, I am seriously waiting for a USS Burbank to show up, just because it is kind of the same thing. It's like nothing exciting ever happens in Burbank, like ever.
That's perfect. I love that. I've never been. Like you live in LA. I've never been to Cerritos, and that's the name of the ship.
I want to see the USS Disneyland.
Yeah,
no. That would probably be a shuttle somewhere on one of the ships. Like it would be a shuttle on the Anaheim. Is what would happen.
The
Right.
USS Beverly Hills would be totally blinged out.
All right, and of course USS stands for what, guys? Do you guys know?
United Spaceship.
That's right. Yes, excellent. Full marks awarded. Yeah, not the United States steamship. Okay.
I had a buddy who was like the biggest Trekkie in the world, like far outstripping me, who called into a radio show once because they asked what NCC stood for in the ships, and he called in, and he super Trekkie, knew all kinds of Star Trek trivia. Do any of you guys know what NCC stands for?
No.
He thought he did. He called in, and he very confidently said Naval Constitution class for the Enterprise. But of course, NCC's on all the ships, and it's just Naval Construction Contract. Yeah, it's the construction contract that gave rise to the creation of that ship.
The USS Vancouver, by the way, is a Parliament class ship. So it specializes in large engineering projects.
Very nice.
The according to memory, all that. The Solvang is also.
It's a city.
Solvang is also. The Solvang is also a California class ship.
I thought.
Solvang is lovely.
I thought that might be a shout out to some Klingon or something that I had forgotten, because like Solvang sounds like a good Klingon name, except it doesn't have an apostrophe or a K. But I'm like, Solvang, that's got to be. And I looked it up and I was like, nope, another city in California I'd never heard of.
Too funny. Great, guys. Any last thoughts on Star Trek Lower Decks?
What do we think about Brad Boimler?
Two things I want to mention before we go.
Oh.
I love the animation on this show. Does everybody love that? I mean, like the quality of it, the facial expressions, the comedy. It just looks so high quality, and I just love to look at it. It just looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I watched it on super high def today, and it holds up. It's cute. Like, it's not trying to be hyper realistic. It's not trying to be anything other than sort of Rick and Morty-ish. And it's good. I think it conveys the flavor of the show quite well.
I just love like the looks that they give each other, like just like the way the faces are drawn, their eyes, the eyelids. It just looks so cool. I love it.
Yeah, they do expressions really well.
Yeah,
particularly on Beckett. I've noticed that they give Beckett a really expressive face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Randall, you mentioned Brad Boyle. How do you say his name? Boiler?
Boimler. How do people feel about
yeah.
Brad Boimler? Because there's a lot to like, there's a lot to hate. I love that there's now something called the Boimler effect, which means like ignore the rules, and like his whole thing is like rules are the best thing ever. And when they do the Temporal Edict episode and they get rid of buffer time, he's living his best life. He's like, woo, I get to do all the tasks all the time. And I think, to the extent that I dislike that character in some ways, I think I recognize something of myself in him.
Yeah. The need to the need to be efficient with your time. I definitely recognize that, but I also recognize the need to you make full use of my buffer time. So I feel like Boiler and Mary are like both parts of me.
Interesting.
In a way.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that he's a very geeky, insecure, anxiety, worried person, and yeah, on some levels I can relate to that. But honestly, if I'm going to project myself on someone, it's going to be more like the Jack Ransom, right? I want to be James T. Kirk, and I was feeling like that, right, as a kid. Like I'm the James T. Kirk type personality. At least that's what I want to be. I'm not, because that's reality, but it's
apparently they are trying to figure out a way to do a crossover between Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks, because Jerry O'Connell and Rebecca Romijn are married, and they're both first officers in the Star Trek universe now.
Oh wow!
I had not pieced that together. That's awesome.
They've been so adorable on Twitter. It's like when Jerry O'Connell started doing Lower Decks, apparently they were going back and forth between about who was actually number one in their house. It really is Rebecca.
I don't follow either of those. I'm going to have to follow those now that I don't have to follow Kirstie Alley anymore.
Oh dear.
Robin God. Curtis for Savick. Not to get political, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I already dropped the Cacklid comparison, so yeah.
That's totally fair.
Speaking of Jerry O'Connell, I cannot for the life of me identify him as being the voice actor, because I know it's him, I know what his voice sounds like in anything else, and to me it just sounds nothing like him. Does anyone else feel that way?
I have had exactly the same experience.
You know what, a little bit, but I've also come off of watching all of the DC animated movies lately, and he's doing the voice of Superman in those, and I kind of hear the same voice between him and between Superman and Ransom. It's just more
because I'm very old because I'm very old indeed. When I think Jerry O'Connell, unfortunately I think Stand By Me.
Yeah.
I think Sliders.
And so, to a lesser extent, that's true as well. But yeah, they're both a very much younger Jerry O'Connell. And but yeah, Jack Ransom, the character is just so different from what he's played in the past, in my experience at least, that I have to remind myself that that's him, which is probably a good sign that you're a brilliant voice actor, when people have to remind yourself that it's you playing a character.
He disappears into the role.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. He's fantastic. I think all the actors, really, the voice actors, do a great job in this series. There's nobody who I think is letting down the team at all. I loved having J.G. Hertzler show up. He's got just the best voice.
Yeah. Apparently,
Kurtwood Smith.
Vanessa Marshall showed up in an episode. He's uncredited, but Maurice LaMarche also showed up in one episode. I forget which. I think he was playing the oh gods, I can't remember which character he was right now. But I mean, the voice is very, very distinctive.
Do you know who plays Badgie?
It's Jack McBrayer, who was Kenneth on 30 Rock.
Absolutely, and I loved him in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He plays this really really dorky character, and that's where I was first introduced to him. And when I saw that he was Badgie, that actually made me almost like Badgie, even though I stand by my earlier observation.
Too funny. I have to admit, too, the introductory opening sequence. What do you guys think of that? Because I like the music. I love the fact that the starship collides or brushes against some sort of asteroid ice thing, and yeah, it's not bad.
It's just basically them always running away from something.
Yeah,
yes.
I love that. Like the Borg take one shot, they're like, nope.
Well, again, this is why they're on the B team. They're not supposed to be in the big space battles. They're supposed to be, the cleanup crew, and the second. They're supposed to be doing second contact, not going off to fight in big wars and stuff. So
the idea of a risk-averse crew is just so cute.
yeah, I thought Risk was our business or something like that. Oh wait, that's Kirk.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All right, before we go, I got a major mention to make. 5 years before this show came out, the series creator Mike McCann made a parody Star Trek book. It's a guidebook to a fictional 8th season of Next Generation, and it is absolutely hilarious. The conceit is that it was a ashcan season they made. They made it so intentionally bad and cheaply so that it would never be aired and they would get out of their contracts. So it's like the worst season of Star Trek ever made, and this is the episode guide covering it. It covers all 26 episodes, and it gives you a synopsis and quotes and fake trivia, and I highly recommend it. It is hilarious. It is only 190 pages long, so it's a little expensive at $10 or $11, but it is so funny. I got it on a 99-cent sale, so that was cool. But I highly recommend this book. It is super funny. So you see, like it's just like a real episode guide, but it's covering fictional terrible episodes, and it is so funny. It's just like Lower Decks. It's that same sense of humor, and I laughed so hard reading it.
What's the title? Okay.
It's called Warped.
Okay.
So everyone
if you
should
look
buy
up
and read that
Star
as
Trek
soon as-
Warped, it'll come up.
Everyone should buy and read that as soon as they're finished reading Afterlife Crisis.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. Drink. Oh, by the way, you know how many copies of that book I bought, Randall? Okay, I have like multiple copies floating around, and I just downloaded the voice version of it. And I'm still
all 6 copies of the book that have sold have been purchased by Joel.
out of Ottawa.
Hey,
God.
I bought a copy.
I'm just kidding. It's actually selling all right.
Okay.
But, no,
Randall,
thank you guys for your
my
support.
Nook wants me to lend it to people. Look.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
I don't think you get any money if I lend it to someone.
I don't mind. No, it's not. It's obviously it's like you. It's not about the cash. It's all about just having fun. Much like I think the folks doing Lower Decks are having a lot of fun with their series.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've spoken for about an hour. Any last thoughts before we close our doors?
I have too many thoughts, but but the caffeine is starting to wear off.
I cannot wait till season 2. I love the show. Really cheered me up.
My main thought about Star Trek right now is how freaking excited I am about this season of Discovery.
Yeah.
And that will be for another episode, I know. But as much as I enjoyed Lower Decks, that first episode of Discovery, I have to say, one of my favorite episodes of any iteration of Star Trek ever.
Agreed. Apparently, Alex Kurtzman has plans for Star Trek going out to like 27. So that makes me very, very happy.
Nice.
I just hope there's still a world around to watch these seasons. Everyone vote.
Yes, everyone vote. If you have not done so already.
Yeah. All right. With me, I think I can say with supreme confidence that I like Lower Decks. I think cartoons do have a role to play in storytelling. I'm more of course, the noir, realist type guy, and so I really enjoy like Discovery and Picard more. But it is what it is, and it's more Star Trek, and that's always a good thing, in my opinion.
Could you imagine if they made a Expanse cartoon in this style?
Oh God, that's insane.
No, that
Yeah.
Or BSG.
Yeah.
BSG maybe.
Dear Lord. All right, let's move on. Okay. This show is released as a podcast and on YouTube. Subscribe today. Check out our Discord, because it's a great source of news and discussion. You can find our Discord server invite on our social media channels. Speaking of which, we're on Twitter and Instagram, which I do, and we also are on Facebook. Yes, which Derek does. Derek, you're doing a great job, man, with the Facebook page.
Thank you.
There you go. YouTube, yeah, we try to upload it to YouTube a day or two after the podcast episode comes out, just because it takes some time to render the video. You can contact us at our email, which is at management@scifipubcast.space. Carrie, what's your Twitter address?
My Twitter handle is Carrie Blackfire42. That's KERI Blackfire42.
And what other podcasts are you on?
I am on DC Talk, which is a DC comics, movie and TV show news and review podcast, and I am also on Cape Chronicles, which is a comic book superhero movie review podcast, and those are both on the Random Chatter Network.
Excellent. Derek, what's your Twitter, man?
I am at Derek JBB.
And Randall, author of Before Life and Afterlife Crisis. Randall, what's your Twitter address?
At Randall_Graham. And thank you very much for the shout out and plug, sir.
We shout out your book like every single episode we do, because we like the fact that you're writing, you got published, and we support creative endeavors. How's that? So
you guys are lovely.
Don't tell anyone. Okay, and my Twitter address, I'm at Joel_Welch, WELCH. It's closing time. Please take care and make it home safe. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Jea Rhea. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly, and we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.